Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. Today, we're thrilled to have Paola, the founder of Dr. Z, joining us. And she will be sharing some of her journey on starting her own brand and turning her brand from a local business to a global brand that's being recognized across the world and many different countries. And Paola's background also have a very diverse background with being a professional sailor, a marine biologist, and also she have a lot of passion with environmental concern as well. And she tried to really embed that into every single aspect of her businesses. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
Yeah, first of all, I know, just like I mentioned in the intro, your background is very diverse and you have many different expertise and different professional experience. Can you tell the listener, how did you even started the brand Dr. Z? What is the story behind the brand?
So I started Dr. Zigs because my youngest, Ziggy, loved bubbles when they were a baby, when they were little. So as a toddler, they used to get crazy giggling fits about bubbles. And we made bubbles for Ziggy. And then we ran out of bubbles. And like probably every single mother in the world, I had a go at making some more at the kitchen sink. Just washing up liquid and water, and of course they weren't very good. So I was looking at buying some more, and all I could find on the market were these small plastic jars, you call them in America, tubs of bubbles, mass produced in China and shipped over to in the UK where I was. Mm-hmm. And I thought there's got to be a better way to make such a beautiful toy. So I made it.
And what was your background? Do you have any chemistry background to come up with the right solution? How did you even tackle that? Can we dive in a little bit deeper on the struggle that you faced when you try to create your own bubble from scratch?
So I guess that's the thing when you say I've got a diverse background.
Yeah.
I think like many entrepreneurs, I'm quite dyslexic. I didn't do brilliantly at school, and I tried many things. I excelled at, I loved working for myself, and I excelled at doing work that was quite hands-on. Mm-hmm. I loved the sea. I grew up by the sea, mm-hmm. and I was passionate about the environment and the marine environment in particular from a very young age. So I grew up in a small fishing village in Italy, and as most places on the coast in the Mediterranean, quite self-sustaining. And when I was about 9, there was a spill, which meant that it affected all our seafood. And the whole culture is built around the seafood, and suddenly we couldn't eat the seafood. And I was outraged. I was really angry how this could happen and affect our whole community. And I just thought, this shouldn't be allowed. It just shouldn't be possible for something so beautiful and pristine. And I used to see seahorses and beautiful, diverse species in the water. And this slowly petered out in my time there to starfish. There are no seahorses there. And to see a species disappear and be affected by it at a young age, I think was really pivotal for me in what I was going to do. And I wanted to study oceanography and I wanted to do science, but I was dyslexic. Mm-hmm. So this idea of academia seemed completely out of reach to me. And it was very much associated with being not very clever. If you're dyslexic, therefore you're maybe stupid or maybe not smart. And anyway, so I didn't want to hear any of this. So I ended up running away to sea.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
I followed my passion, so the ocean and the marine environment, and took up sailing. And I was very lucky to be able to travel quite a lot, delivering boats and working on yachts and doing a lot of sailing. And again, my experiences in these marine environments really impacted me. And specifically, what really hit me was sailing across the Atlantic and seeing a bag of rubbish, like black bag of rubbish. And there was so much stuff in the middle of this pristine wilderness that it was really shocking to me. So this was a real passion I had.
Mhm.
And eventually, actually, I did go to university, and eventually I did do my degree after the children were born, and ended up graduating, did my master's in marine conservation. So I did it the long way round, if you like. And then when Ziggy was a baby and loved bubbles, I guess this brought all my passions together. The ocean is filled with bubbles. Bubbles are a really beautiful toy. And I wanted to spend time with the kids, so do something working from home and making bubbles. I saw this as a great opportunity. At the beginning, it was just literally at my kitchen table. I spent £20, which is probably around, I don't know, $17 on bottles and stickers. And sold my first batch. I was the boot to my co. So it was very much a teeny tiny step that has turned into the business that it is today.
Yeah, and I think that thank you so much for sharing that story. And I think that also it makes sense why your brand is like so focusing on sustainability. And I think I also want to talk about the uniqueness of the bubble that you have compared to everything else in the marketplaces. So can you also elaborate on how your product is like plant-based compared to all the other product in the marketplace?
Yeah, so it's just that. So from the very outset, the toy, for me, the bubbles had to be as sustainable as I could possibly make them. And each part of that has been a huge journey. So at the beginning, I started off using plastic bottles I could find. And then quite quickly, I knew I wanted to use recycled plastic. So I started very much with each tiny piece of this toy, of my toys, is thought out. Now, for example, we do have plastic bottles, but these are 100% recycled plastic.
Okay.
But this took a long journey until you can have the volume where you can actually command that's material.
Mm-hmm.
And things are getting much, much easier now. So you've got to bear in mind, I've been doing this for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, when I talked to suppliers about plant-based inks for my printing, they had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's fine. We can get plant-based inks. And it's the same with the plastics. And for a long time, I was really aware that the bubbles are made from surfactants, so soaps. And basically, most children or most people have done some experiments with surface tension. So where you fill a glass of water and you see this lovely kind of bump where the water is holding itself really tight, and then you add a drop of soap and suddenly it overflows. It loses its surface tension. So that's what we're doing. So we're adding something that will let us stretch water.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of our surfactants in the modern world are made from petrochemicals and are not biodegradable. So this is something I was aware of increasingly the more I explored these bubbles and how can I make them better. And it's it became imperative to me that I could find something that was petrochemical free and biodegradable, that I could be happy making bubbles, knowing that these were not going to harm the planet or the children in any way. So I sponsored, because I'd come through university, I had an awareness of what talent and resource university was. I managed to sponsor a chemistry master's and then eventually a chemistry PhD. And 10 years later, I managed to make some giant bubble mix. So this is high performing bubble mix using plant-based surfactants. And for me, this is huge. It's been something world leading, and I find it's something that brings me joy every single time I go out to make the bubbles. And I know I can feel good about this product.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to mention that you brought up in the pre-interview, you mentioned your bubble mix can also pollinate flowers as well. Can you also elaborate that, please?
Yeah, I make different toys. So I'm a toy inventor as well. I love to create. What can I make with these bubbles? Constantly, I come up with these great ideas. And so I make bubbles that are giant and huge. And then I make bubbles that you can freeze, so frozen bubbles. So I've made a bubble mix, whereas most bubble mix will freeze when it's like super cold, like 28 degrees, North Canada. I've made a bubble mix that will freeze when it is, sorry, not 28, when it's like you're super cold. 28 is when it's difficult for me in Fahrenheit. So normal bubbles be at minus 20 centigrade. So in Canada, whereas my bubbles will freeze when the frost is just on the ground. So it's at 0 grade or -2, if you like, when they're just frozen. So that's something I've come up with. And then, yes, I made a bubble mix that can support and deliver pollen so that the children can use to pollinate flowers.
That's incredible. So how does that even work?
It's a very little kit, so I can talk about the packaging as well, because that's part of the whole sustainability journey.
Yeah.
So the kit comes with a little paintbrush, and an instruction booklet, and a straw, and a little pot that you use to collect pollen. And the booklet's got loads of information on how to use the kits, and it's quite educational. So it's got information about our pollinating species and pollination and the science behind it and how it works. And it's an activity that empowers children, because children know exactly what's going on in the world. They know the bees are in trouble, and this is a way that they can get involved and help. So they get their little paintbrush and they can go up to any flower. And this is a really interesting way for children to learn about different species, because every flower and every species of flower will have a different method of pollination and reproduction. But most flowers will have a stamen, and you just go in and you tickle it in the middle and you'll take the pollen off. With this, you tap it into your little pot, and then you add special pollinating bubble mix that are here. So this is where the magic is. So it's in the bubble mix. It's very simple, but it can support pollen without destroying the pollen. So it can actually effectively deliver the pollen. So you mix it in, and then you dip your straw in your mix of pollen and bubble mix, and you go around the world blowing bubbles. Wherever these bubbles touch the flowers, they will then pollinate the flowers. So it's an educational, fun toy that really can help the kids get engaged and feel empowered about making a difference in their world.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really very unique. And I think running an ethical business that goes beyond just the product is like, I can see the passion and when you are describing all the product that you invented, you really try to incorporate as much of the sustainability aspect into your business as possible. But being an eco-conscious company in the industry where sustainability isn't always prioritized, what kind of challenge have you faced so far?
I think often the price point has often been, I cannot compete with China. I don't want to compete with China. That's not what we're about. So it's not about adding to the problem that we have of this consumer society. So that is sometimes a problem with the big buyers. However, having said that, there is a change. There is a huge change. And we're having more and more people that are coming to us because they know that we have to change. As a society, we have to change. The fires in California, the huge floods, it's affecting all of us now.
Yeah.
And we are all very aware that we have to do something. And as this change is starting to be, legislation is also coming in. We can provide a solution to shops and retailers who need to provide their carbon footprint. They need to, there's a talk of carbon tax coming in. So they need to have products that can meet these sustainability demands. And we've got that ready. So the world is catching up with us.
You're definitely at the leading front on that aspect. And I know you also have other initiatives, for example, Bubble Not Bombs. That's one of the initiatives that you also have.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what is that initiative all about and how does that reflect on your core value as well?
So I've always been a bit of an activist. So I've done some work with Amnesty. My father was a refugee. So my father was from Poland and came out of Poland at the beginning of the Second World War and lost his country, lost his family, lost everything. So it's something that's always been very close to my heart. And especially how war and poverty and difficult situations affect children who are completely innocent victims of these crazy situations that adults impose on them. And I think the beauty of Bubbles is that it transcends every language, every culture. Wherever you go in the world, a child will understand a bubble and will want to pop it or play with it. There is no language barrier, there's no culture barrier. It's just instant fun. And you can change a situation within a split second with a bubble. You just blow a bubble. A child's crying, you blow a bubble, and suddenly they're like, "Whoa, what? What's happening?" It just changes mental state.
Yeah.
And I think I love the magic of bubbles and the power that these bubbles have. And so, very early on, just when I started Dr. Zigs, I started using the bubbles in all kinds of situations. And I myself work with a refugee charity, so I'm really aware of grassroots organizations on the ground. So I started sending the bubbles to people who are working with children in Kenya on the rubbish tips. People who are working with orphans in India, or people who are working with children suffering from AIDS in Romania. So all these different things. And then when in 2015, the Syrian war kicked off, the civil war and the whole crisis, and this massive floods of refugees desperately coming across waters, I started working with some of the camps on the Greek islands. So these children are arriving by boat, exhausted, lost, terrified.
Yeah.
And there would be volunteers in the camps who were able to play with bubbles with these children. And you'd see these children who within 24 hours of having lived through the most stressful things in their lives were suddenly able to play. And just to offer that moment of respite, that moment to let them be a child It's an incredible gift. So since then, we've been working with children in Palestine, obviously. So it's really affected by what's happening now. And we work with children. We also work with hospices, with children who are going through cancer treatment. So there's it's kind of spread, and it's a passion project. It's part of, I think, sustainability is not just our planet, it's also the species. Planet. So there's human justice, social justice, climate justice, all of it.
Yeah, thank you for doing what you do. I think you're definitely making an impact to the society and the life of people that you touch. And talking about sustainability, I know there's also a lot of toy company that I have been talking to on the podcast. What advice would you give other toy company that want to be more sustainable in their practice, but they don't really know where to start first? What are some of your suggestions?
I think there's always things that we can all do better in terms of sustainability. I think there's very simple changes that people can make. And I think, and this is, I have to tell myself this lesson as well, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to get there in one go, but little tiny steps will help you. The packaging, people are really coming on board now, but it's making sure your packaging is recycled and recyclable, making sure that you're thinking about, this was my product, this was my older product, that was the size. I've managed to shrink it down into a package that is this size. This goes through a letterbox.
Okay.
I've saved 40% of my packaging.
Oh, well, that's big. You save a lot of
win-win.
Use your carbon footprint significantly.
But it means that this costs me less. My shipping costs me less. It costs our customers less. So you're winning. It's definitely more sustainable. Little things like we add messaging inside our packaging. So, for example, yes, this is cardboard, and yes, you can recycle it. But how about giving it some extra life? So this one, for example, we encourage children to use it as a propagator. So fill it with earth, put your favorite seeds in it, put it on the windowsill, watch them grow. So we've got more science going on there, some wonderful hands-on activities. And then when they're growing, you can actually bury this whole thing into the garden, and it will break down and be part of feeding the plants, and the plants will grow.
Okay.
This whole circular economy is
the whole cycle, yes.
And I think what I love about this whole sustainability issue, the kind of topic that we've got going on now, and as an inventor, is that it's exciting. It doesn't have to be a problem. It can be something exciting that can lead us to some really innovative solutions. You know, what can we come up with that's going to improve our products and therefore improve our world?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that I like your suggestion on, as a toy entrepreneur myself, I think we all should be thinking outside the box. How can we change the packaging like the one you just showed? So it's not just recycle, it's also reusable almost. And you also give it a second life, so to speak, because it's not just being sorted away and put it into the recycle bin, but you can use it for other purposes. Like you mentioned, put it in the garden as well, which is incredible. And how do you come up with all the different idea on the sustainability aspect of the product design?
I think it's just being passionate about it. And it's so many of us in the toy industry, we're innovators, we're inventors, we're creative. It's a game, isn't it? It's all about playing. And as soon as you give a child or an older child, kidult, a toy and a problem, is what can we do to come up with a solution? How can we fix this? How can we make it better? What can we invent? And it's all about that creativity of play, I think. It just overflows into our product and the business and keeps it fun.
For sure, yeah, that's very important to think. And look at our business from a different perspective and how can we give back. And thank you so much for sharing all the different initiatives that you are currently doing through the different initiatives you are doing, and also the sustainability of your business. I think it's really making a huge impact to the rest of the world as well. And as well, wrapping today's interview, if you had to share just one piece of advice with someone that's getting started in the toys or game industry, what would that be?
Have fun. Go for it. And just
Okay.
and blow some bubbles and play with them. And that will inspire you to have more fun and create more.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much for that piece of advice. And for people that want to find a little bit more about your company and yourself, where's the best place for people to find you online?
So just Google Dr. Zigs, DRZIGS, and we're Instagram, Facebook. We've got our website, drzigs.com. I'm just hopefully starting a Substack as well, so you can find more about my crazy personal adventures as well. It is part of the story, I think.
Yeah.
It's also sustainability is also about how we live and what choices we make. So yeah, just Dr. Zigs anywhere and you'll find us.
Okay, perfect. We'll make sure we put that in the show note. And for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resources, tips, and the latest update in the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unboxed. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joys to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.